Welcome to Somerset Showcase. Today we are here with Somerset's health agent, Tim Turner, and we're going to talk about a problem with rats in town. Tim, when I think of rats and problems with them, I think of David Letterman joking about the rats in New York City, and I thought it was more of a city problem, but we can have them.
Well, they've always been here. Over the course of the last couple of years, when the pandemic started and all the restaurants and the bars and everything else were closed down, there was no food going into the dumpsters. Even when they reopened and did takeout, there was still very little food going in the dumpster. Everybody was taking it home. So they spread out. They're on a mission. They need food and water just like we do, and that is their job 24/7. At the rate that they procreate, they can give a female can have up to four litters a year, maybe more. Each litter having up to 10 baby rats, and a female rat can become pregnant again a half an hour after it gives birth. So they can do this up to 4 to 7 times a year. And one area they come to, they procreate, that area spreads out, it moves on. Now they're coming out of the woods, they're getting into people's yards for a myriad of reasons, which I'll get into. And they're spreading out. They're wild animals. They're gonna go. You're just as likely to see bunnies. Perfect example. We had a mild winter. It was the same thing for the rats. They just kept growing and growing and growing, and I don't think anybody can say that they haven't seen a large population explosion in bunnies. I mean, I know I have. I probably got about 10 of them running around between me and my neighbor's yards, and he's got more babies under his shed.
Yeah, I see them when I'm out running in the morning. They try to run with us.
So, with that being said, now they're starting to get into our lives. People with the cleanest, most maintained yards. They might live near the woods. They might live near a brook. They might live near another piece of property that's not being properly maintained. And now they've got them. And they'll call. At best, I can go down and try to see if there's an obvious reason why they came to your particular property and decided to stay. So that could be a couple of things. Your property, like I said, could be pristine, but you have a deck in the backyard where it's closed in. Take a look around that foundation line. Take a look around the fence line. See if there's any holes. You can fill them in. It can be beat, but it doesn't happen overnight. Trapping is probably the most humane way to get rid of them, because they're not eating the poison. They're not getting eaten by birds or cats or any other pet that you might have. When they eat the poison, it usually takes a couple of days for them to die. And they don't just die, like get sick in their burrow and die. They're just walking along and they just drop dead, which is a bigger reason why people, I found a dead rat in my yard. Well, it's probably because he was poisoned, and this is where he just happened to drop dead. The bird will get him, or your dog or pet will get them. And if it had been poisoned, then if the skin on the rat is broken, then there's a very good possibility that you might be making a trip to the vet, because that poison will pass on to your animal, which is why I'm saying that the trapping is the best way to do it. I've had people use the traps very successfully in a neighborhood, and I'm talking maybe like in a 4-house area of a neighborhood or more. And it's got to be a group effort as well, because if you have them in your yard, chances are pretty good your neighbor's going to have them in his yard, possibly for the same reason. They're merely cutting through because they found a food source. They're smart, they remember where it was, and they're going to keep going back until the food source is gone. To the point where if you suspect them, I would tell you, take a walk around your house, look around the foundation. If you see any holes up against the foundation, going under your deck, going under a fence, that might be the place where you're going to want to put a trap. I had one neighborhood, it started off in the summer and it was pretty serious. They were catching a lot of rats. Their yard was fine. There was no bird feeders, dog food, two of the biggest things that will draw them into your yard. There's a picture that's going to be shown when the video airs. You'll see a worn out spot in a very well manicured lawn and yard, and that is the trail from the rats going back and forth to a bird feeder. And they just keep doing it as long as the squirrels will spill it, birds will spill it, gets on the ground, the rats know it. They keep coming back and forth till it wears out a line in your grass. That one shocked me when I saw that. I've seen that on 2 different occasions. And one of the occasions I actually saw a rat walking the path. And that was in broad daylight. That was an area over a year ago, and this was when the restaurants were closed. So maybe a year and a half ago plus. And in one neighborhood, 2 yards, over one weekend, they caught over 30 rats. And they were just passing through. They live near the woods, so they're coming and going. And the most important thing is, if you have to put your trash outside, put it in a metal barrel. They'll chew through plastic. Rats' teeth are like our fingernails. They constantly have to be maintained and manicured, otherwise it'll grow down under their chin and it'll kill them. You take a look at your recycling bins. I know mine has a lot of chew marks on it, and that could be from rats, it could be from a squirrel. I haven't seen any rats in my neighborhood, but that's what they do. That's what they like to do. If you're going to put your trash out at night, put it out in the barrel. Do not put a bag of trash out at the curb the night before. We have coyotes all over the place. We've got raccoons. We have rats, obviously, and they're getting into it, and it's making a mess all over any of the streets. You shouldn't put your trash out until just before 7 a.m. on your pickup day, and that's the safest and easiest way. Rats this time of year do not want to be in your house. Don't give them the opportunity. Keep your grass cut as best you can. Keep any kind of, I'll just read it right from here. Don't leave any household trash unsecured outside. Do not leave any pet food or waste outside unattended. Remove any standing water and consider removing bird feeders for the time being. Be diligent in what you are storing in the yard. Please try to remove any debris, junk, etc., for this makes the perfect shelter for rats. Check for any openings in your shed, your bulkhead, your decks to prevent them from entering your home. Please keep your landscaping current, for tall grass is another form of shelter. If you are experiencing any issues, an exterminator may be necessary, which I also highly recommend. I know that there's a cost behind it, but if in all efforts you cannot figure out where they're coming from, I mean, are they living under your deck? An exterminator will be able to tell you these things, because he will put bait traps. That's the best use of the time that the trap is going to stay there. The poison that they're using is evolving to make it safer for any other predators like hawks or anything that might catch the rat to eat or feed to its young. That's in play according to the exterminator that my kind of go-to guy that I've become over the last couple of years. And for short money, I mean, I know nobody wants to be paying anything that they have to pay these days, but for short money, you're better off nipping it in the bud and getting them out. It can work before it does start to get cold, and then they're trying to find a way into your house. Or if they eat poison and they get into your house and they die in your walls or up in your attic or something like that. Not pleasant, not inexpensive to remedy that. In the last 6 months, a little longer, we had a recurrence of a rat issue behind the COA. Now, we had one last year. We seem to have put it to rest, and we didn't have any more issues. This year, there were 2 boulders at the end of the parking lot that the highway department had to put there because people were driving off the parking lot onto the field to turn their car around rather than doing a 3-point turn in the parking lot. Those boulders created habitat for the rats, and there was holes around both boulders, all the way around, to the tune of about 24 different burrows. The rats were coming out in broad daylight, so we've, they're back. So there's got to be a reason why they're back. Supposedly, the dumpster back behind COA does not have any food in it. Little Red is very diligent with the kids. If they bring a lunch, whatever they don't eat goes back in the lunchbox and goes home with them. But people still back their car up, throw their own trash in there, and there's not a dumpster in the world that doesn't happen to. All right, that there's food in there, there's waste in there. So we determined, okay, there's the boulders at the end of the parking lot with all the burrows. On the other side of the parking lot, we have the dumpster. The dumpster was not sitting on asphalt or concrete. It was sitting on the dirt at the end of the parking lot, and that was in an effort to not take up any parking spaces, which sometimes they need badly back there. So immediately, well, before that, we got the exterminator back there. He estimated that there were over 100 rats living in these burrows. Okay, we started exterminating. It took us about 5 weeks. It is now, I'm going to say 99%, because nothing's 100%. It's 99% rat free. I've checked daily. When we moved that dumpster, there were tunnels that it looked like the New York subway system, coming from every direction. They're coming from the burrows, they're just coming underground, they're getting up. A rat can climb anything that a squirrel can climb. Squirrel and a rat can jump. So they can get into a dumpster, okay? We moved the dumpster, we put a concrete pad down further away, so it's up off the ground, but there's no way to get under it. Whereas before, with the dirt, they could dig under it and then come up. So that problem has been solved, and 5 weeks it's not bad, I guess, compared to a whole year, but it was every day, and the exterminator was out every week coming to check it, on top of us keeping an eye on it every day. We saw a new hole, we'd fill it in, we'd get a rock, fill it in, you come back the next day, the rock is pushed out of the way, or the hole has been redug. So
when you exterminate, is there a certain amount of time you gotta stay off the property?
Depends. No, because everything is enclosed in the black traps, and the poison is in pouches. So you would have to want to get at it if you wanted to open one of those up. It's just not that easy. They have a key. They're usually put in a discreet area. So if you open one up and you're handling poison, it's because you weren't paying attention to somebody who doesn't know any better, or you wanted to see what the inside of it looks like. But other than that, you can't get in there, you can't get your hand in there, you can't, you would have to break it open to actually expose any of the poison.
And where do people get these traps?
Well, I would recommend getting them from an exterminator, because he has the right kind of poison. You can't buy the kind of poison that they have. He knows if there's any activity or not. If there are any dead ones around, he handles them, and he disposes of them. So, it all depends on how far you want to go. You can go to Home Depot, you can go to A1 Hardware, you can buy the bait traps, and you can buy the bait. But, I would not recommend anybody doing that unless they were a licensed exterminator. If you're not an expert on something like that, why would you want to mess with it? You might have the opposite effect. You might not catch any, and you've gone to all that trouble and wasted all that time. So I would recommend it's a black plastic trap, and safety-wise, you really can't hurt yourself unless you do something really stupid. You load it from the bottom. You can't set the trap until it's been loaded. You put it on the ground, you use your foot, you push down on it, trap opens up, there's a sensor inside. I've heard people tell me they've caught birds in them, because you usually use peanut butter for the bait, and a bird just stuck his head in there and tripped the sensor, and that was it. But they will do the job on any size rat. If you live near the water, expect to see them because that's where they live and that's where they eat, and that's never going to go away.
Yeah.
But those generally don't migrate into people's yards. That's not the kind of rat that would come up.
Are there certain areas of town where this has been more of a problem?
So we've had them from north to south. The worst problem we had was COA. One of the worst ones that we had was the one I was telling you about, where they caught the 30 rats. I'm not naming locations because I don't think it's important right now. If you're there, you know. I don't want to be creating any kind of this neighborhood has and this one doesn't. So what's the problem? It's not like that. It can be anywhere, But we've had them all over town. Mostly residential. Some people are near the woods. They're coming out. People that are not maintaining their yards, they're drawing them to them, especially if there's trash out. Deep grass. I've become a strong advocate to the best of my abilities when somebody calls and says my neighbor's grass hasn't been cut. It's up to my knees. I don't know what the problem is. Well, number one, I would say there's nothing wrong with going and knocking on your neighbor's door and seeing if he needs a little help. Maybe something's gone wrong that nobody knows about. They can call me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to send the guy a letter telling him, you're in big trouble. You haven't cut your grass. You're going to get fined. We're going to bring you to court. That's not the way to start something. That's the way to finish something. Everybody deserves the benefit of a doubt. And sometimes you go, I had one case where, the neighbors, they knew the guy and they would take care of things. And they were concerned and they call me and says, the house across the street, I don't know what's going on. I haven't seen the guy in a few weeks. From time to time, he does get taken away. Elderly does get taken away in an ambulance. But I just want to let you know, maybe you know more about this than we do, and see if the guy is okay. So as it turns out, his yard wasn't being maintained, but the guy's been in the hospital. So there's nothing I can do. I can't go and start to threaten the guy with any kinds of legal letters or anything like that. The man's in the hospital, and that's when people need help. So that would be my number one thing. If you see this going on at your neighbor's house, don't wait till it's so out of control that nobody can do anything. I'm not telling anybody to go and be starting anything. I don't want anybody putting themselves in any kind of jeopardy because they don't want to be dealing with a neighbor that they don't like. If that's the case, then don't do it. But if it's a neighbor that you know and you think he deserves the benefit of the doubt, then go see if somebody needs some help.
And with the vacant properties, don't we have that bylaw that says...
It's a vacant property bylaw, and right now we've got a couple of them, but it was part of a tax title buyout. Two of them that I can think of that are really bad. So we have a vacant property fund. Most of the vacant properties, all they need to do is get taken care of by the bank or a mortgage servicing company, which means keeping the grass cut, making sure there's no openings, windows aren't open or broken or anything like that. And the fee that they pay, it goes up each year. The longer it sits vacant, the more they pay, and it provides them a little security. I'm not saying the police are stopping there, but at least they're driving by. They see something weird going on. They know which houses are vacant, which ones are not. Just you can tell by looking at them. From time to time, I have to call the bank. They usually don't know about it. When you have a Bank of America, believe me, one house lot on Chase Street that's vacant means nothing to them. Absolutely nothing to them. But if you call, you get the right people. They usually send somebody down, get it taken care of. The grass is cut. The neighborhood is back to normal. And they pay their yearly fee. We try to, it's not something we want, but if the house is vacant and it has to stay vacant until they either foreclose or go to auction, then, if it's vacant and it's a disaster, we have, it's free to the town. It's put on by the Attorney General's office. It's the Abandoned Property Initiative. And we go to housing court. We tell them what's going on. And they will generally allow us to appoint a receiver. Well, they'll appoint it. We'll give them somebody that we'd like to use. And a receiver is pretty much any general contractor that wants to get involved. They'll rehab the house, they'll fix it up, he'll get paid, or it'll go to auction and he'll get, his share of it if the auction goes well. That's kind of a risk for them. And then the house gets put up for sale and it's sold, and we've had tremendous success with that. Really tremendous success. And by doing that, we're preventing or eliminating another place where rats might go to hang out because they feel safe. There's no human interaction, no predators, no nothing. So they're very happy to be there. And we do keep an eye on our vacant properties. I try to keep my eye on them as best as I can. If you're living next door to one and you don't think we know about it, then just call the Board of Health and we'll check it out. And if it's something that we can take care of, then we will. It's like the rats. If they call, I'm gonna go look. I will try to find out where they're coming from just based on all these experiences over the last couple of years. I may not be able to find out where they're coming from. They're wild animals. They might be coming out of the woods from another neighborhood somewhere where it's not being reported. They might just be living in the woods, cutting through your yard, and you can see that where the picture that I had given you that has that worn out path. They're just going back and forth. They're not. That's.
Now, do they generally stay away from people?
They do not like to be around people. No. Matter of fact, when our extermination at COA was done, and the highway department came to get the boulders out of there, so now they didn't have any place else to live. They came on a Friday. I knew that they were coming, and on that Wednesday and that Thursday, it even woke me up a couple of times thinking they're gonna lift those rocks up, and 100 rats are gonna go flying in every direction. Even though they had obviously been getting into the bait traps because the poison was getting eaten, we were putting the bait packets down the burrows and then burying it. So it worked. They lifted up both rocks. One rat ran away, and he just bolted off. We couldn't have caught him if we tried. So that was a huge relief that it worked. Whatever we do, if you stick with it, it'll work.
So there's no worries about these things biting people.
You would, like I said, you would have to do something stupid to get bit. Like say the trap caught the rat by the tail, and the rat is still alive. Don't touch it. Get a shovel or get something, and do what you got to do with it. But don't touch the animal. It's a wild animal. The chances of you getting bit are huge. I've had some mice, and I actually caught 2 in one trap at one time. One of them, he didn't make it at all. The other one was, it was caught by the tail, and he was still alive. So I brought it as far out into the yard as I could. I let him go. He was only this big. I let him go, and he kind of staggered away, and I don't think he made it. I think he was just caught in that trap for too long. But I couldn't bring myself to kill a little mouse because his tail got caught in the trap.
You were just saying a few minutes ago that rats can almost be like pets.
Oh, they can. So they get a bad rap because of where they hang out for the food. Dumpsters lead to filth, and it gets on them. If you had a rat, people have them. Go online. There's blogs, there's discussion forums. They have them in the house. I know this sounds crazy. In the house, they can become a lovable pet, one of the smartest pets you'll ever own, one of the cleanest pets you'll ever own. They'll follow commands. They will use like a litter box, if I can use that as an expression, to do their business. And people have hamsters, people have guinea pigs, gerbils. Same family. There's really no difference except they're clean, and people can accept that. So if that's what you had in your house and you had it from birth or from I don't know, a pet center, if that's something they get for people, I guess if there's a want, there's a supply. So
this is something that's been an impact from the pandemic.
I think my own opinion is that's where this became a problem. I'm not saying that they weren't there before, but this became a problem. And then we also had that drought, that summer of the pandemic. Rats need water all the time, just like we do. They generally don't go for gardens And I had people call. They found the tomatoes, which they wouldn't eat a tomato because of the acid content. They don't eat it. And along the bottoms of the plants, you could see where their teeth, where they had gnawed, and they were doing it for the water content. Because I know the brook near my house was bone dry, right down to the dirt, and I've been there 30 years, and I had never seen it without a drop of water in it, never. So that didn't help either. Kind of a perfect storm. Everything just kind of started happening.
Yeah, that wasn't a fun summer.
No, it was not.
I think we talked about things people can do to prevent rats
Yep.
from coming onto their properties.
Got to keep your yards up. If you don't want them hiding in your yard, you've got to keep it up. And this is no offense to anybody, but you know who you are. You know what your yard looks like, and if it's really looking like that, then it needs to be taken care of, because that's where they like to hide out. If you've got dogs, don't leave any dog food out after you've fed them. They're gonna keep coming back. And if the rat has been into poison and he's into the dog food and the dog sees him and manages to grab him and bite him, and it's happened already, you're going to go spend, hopefully the dog will live, and you're going to go spend $400 or $500 at the vet for medicine or whatever it is that they have to do, depending on how far along the poison is in his system. Do not put trash out that's not in a metal bag unless you're putting it out the morning of your trash day. See, I have a pickup truck. I don't want to leave my trash in the house. I don't have a metal barrel, so I would never put it out. So the night before, trash goes in the back of my pickup truck. Push it down. Next morning, I just pick it up, put it out. Easy. Done. It's out of my house. It's not on the ground. I've never ever had any problems with it whatsoever. But the birds like to get to it. The birds tear the trash bags open when it's on the ground, and it opens it up. They'll pull something out, and if there's any food, it's just going to bring the next crew in, which would probably be rats, or a coyote, or a fox, or something. They're all looking for food. That's it.
Yeah, we always seem to be talking about problems related to trash.
It's everywhere. It's not just here.
Yeah.
I'm in the Bristol County Health Coalition, and we meet once a month. And at the end of our meetings, we always have a hot topic, which means we can go off on anything you want to ask. You want advice from somebody? Ask what they're doing in their cities and towns. Rats dominate, because we've had people from different cities and towns. Anybody here having a problem with rats in their town? The whole place,
Wow.
hands up. And some of them are bigger than others. Obviously, in the city, I think all you can do is control them. I don't think you could ever eradicate them. It's too many dwellings, too many people, too much of everything.
You think we can do that in a town like this?
Yes. 100% no, because they're wild animals. You can never control them. But we've had success, and that's, I try to use that for my model. If it's something that I can help, or if it's something that I have to tell somebody, here's what you need to do. If you want to get rid of me, you have to help yourself. We can't solve every single problem that comes our way. It's just not everything is in our control.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to let people know about the rats?
No, nothing more than I've already said. Like I said, just be diligent, keeping your property clean, the trash, the food, pick up after your animals. The dog waste, very nutritious for a rat because of the dog food that they eat. Fun facts.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for tuning in to Somerset Showcase. We've been talking to Health Agent Timothy Turner about the rat problem in town. Hopefully you don't have that problem, but if you do, he gave you a lot of suggestions on what you could do to get them out of your yard or prevent them from coming into your yard.